So we're going to get started here. One of the things I'm going to pass out is a email list of everybody, so please verify or whatever, because every time I send something out, I always get a bunch of non-deliverables. And so the thing that is that when it says non-deliverable, it doesn't tell me what is deliverable. So what I end up doing is deleting the email because I don't want to have that all the time. So just if you just want to put a check that and put a check mark against your name or whatever. One of the things we're doing is that we're recording this, and so what the intent is to be recording this and then have the ability to get a CD of what's going on. How come only reason I had it that way was because I got the timer going. But anyway, sorry about that. Now everything that we're going to talk about today, please remember this is my opinion. And so whether you agree or disagree or whatever, it's still my opinion. Last year I allowed some guest speaker, or a guest speaker, and they took too much time. And so I apologize for letting that happen. So basically, I'm going to do the talking. So, and if you notice on the agenda, the EAs were not on the listed there. They felt I was selling products. And they requested that I change my presentation, and I said no. So anyway, that's why the checks had to be made out to me. They couldn't be made out to them. But I want to thank Pam and Nikki for setting the room up, providing, or they're not providing lunch, but setting up the lunch, etc. Basically, when I go through and do all this stuff, and I was mentioning it to the ladies in the back there, if I'm doing a present or a seminar and somebody says something, I go, whoa. I say, we got to have the group know about it, because a lot of people are doing a lot of seminars or whatever, and they're aware of small parts. And so I just want to bring out some of the stuff that you guys are here looking at. So we do have some vendors here today. Sock Rabbits Forum is here. Billy, you want to wave at the people? Wave to the nice people. Gabriel is out at the desk from Taxbook. And Michael Meshik is up here. He's doing our recording. He's from NetV Pro. They're the people I use for all my IT computer work. And not John, Paul is out at the desk with her. So one of the things, and I'm saying, no, why would IT people, you have to stop at the front desk and get an orange peeler. I said, Paul, why an orange peeler from IT people? And he said, pens they always lose. This they'll keep on to. So anyway, that's just, you can get an orange peeler. So a lot of the programs that are out there that are available, we're going to be talking about them today. But you still need to do the research. Again, a lot of programs I use, and I'll tell you that I'm using it. But, if we're talking about, even PDFs, there are more than one that you can use. So do the research. And again, I attend a lot of seminars and see presentations I know little or nothing about. And I felt you folks are probably in the same boat. So that's why we brought it up. And if I talk about something that you're already pro at, do like you're at church. Let your mind wander. And then when it's something that you need to know, come on back. But how many times you're in church and they start speaking and it's like, oh, okay, I'll be back. So I don't begin to know everything, but between all of us, we probably have the answers for everything. So A couple things that happened is I sent out the information on the seminar. Hello, testing. And then a week or so ago, I attended a seminar that Drake put on what's new. Now this is totally different than what they did at their update schools. Their update schools were like 8 pages. And they basically said, oh, we've got this look back, and we got this, and we got this, and maybe a 1 or 2 line deal that says this is what it's about. So when I attended the seminar a week ago, basically now it's 30 pages. And so that's why I said we have an additional. So what you need to do if you're going to follow along is that the that update is going to be inserted after page 92 and basically eliminated the pages 93 through 96. So that's where we're going from that. One of the things I did include in here in your book is a seminar evaluation form. I did take a seminar this summer about how to make the presentations on these things, and one of the things they said is you have to do an evaluation. So one of the things I want to have you make a note on there is, have we outlived our usefulness for doing this? Yeah, I just want an answer on that because, you know, I think it's still useful, but you can see our numbers are down. But anyway, that's what the evaluation form is. Now also in your book, I have a list of all some of the places I got the information from. And so you can go onto those particular sites, look at what they have for presentations, etc. But what I did is I have contacted all those sites and said, I'm doing this, can I use some of your materials? And you know, everybody, including Bob Jennings, will say, well, it's all copyrighted. But if you ask, we'll let you do it. So anyway, so I just want to let you know some of the different people we're using here. And then I thought this quote from Albert Einstein was kind of interesting. Kind of like what we're doing is like, if you're doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, I think that's a good definition of insanity. So anyway, let's get going. One of the things that, you know, if you're really into technology is I would suggest that you take Bob Jennings from Tax Speaker, his technology class. A lot of people will take his 1040 class, etc. But, and what I keep telling Bob every time I see him is that when I take his technology class, it costs, you know, you pay 150 bucks, and it's cost me way more than that. Because now I'm starting to do all the things that I should have been doing that I didn't know I was supposed to be doing, and now I do them and it costs me lots of money. So anyway, I always tell Bob that. So, so anyway, one of the first things we want to do is this is not even in your book, but again, we're talking about technology. Anybody who has a laptop in here, I want you to go to, it's called a Windows Experience Index. And basically what it is you hit the Windows key, it's down in the lower left-hand corner, and pause break. Pause break. And so what it's going to happen here is going to bring up what is called the Windows Experience. And basically, it's going to give you the lowest score here. So if I go on to expand it, it's going to tell you all the various components on your computer and the areas that you may have issues with and what you can change to make it better. So you can see here, it says my memory operations per second is 4.5. If it's below 5, not good. You gotta make some changes. This laptop is really old, so you can, you know, basically look at any computer and check this out. And the score that's shown up there, like mine is a 4.3. That's the lowest rate. of everything that's up there. They don't average it, they say this is the lowest rate. And then if you go and actually check on what do these numbers mean, then you can go and find out what all this stuff is. But basically what's happening is that any time that you get a techie come in, that's the first thing they're going to do, is to run that and say, you don't have enough memory in here. Or your hard drive is really slow. Or, so that's what the tech people are going to be looking at. So you really need to do that, because if, like in this instance, everything was pretty low, I gotta get rid of this. I gotta get a different one, because I can change some of the things, but the majority of what needs to happen is a new one.
You lost me at pause break. I know where the Windows key is.
The Windows key, lower left-hand corner, and you have to hold that at the same time that you hit pause break.
And what is pause break?
Not all laptops.
And not all, and the IT guys say not all of them have it.
Okay.
But if you've got a Windows machine, they're going to have something similar to that.
I know there's business equipment.
Yeah.
I don't have a pause break, so that's why.
So anyway, that's just something to start our technology on.
And is it any Windows operating or?
Any Windows operating. Okay, let's move on. And again, one of the things I mentioned is that we did, I want to apologize for a couple of these slides. They're really bad. I don't know why when it copied or whatever it did, it was really bad. So not all of them, but a number of them. So we have to apologize for that. So one of the things that, again, from the technology class is that, or how many people get newsletters or emails or whatever from Bob Jennings? If you don't, go on to taxspeaker.com and sign up. It's a free, and they're not selling it to anybody, but they're giving you information. This was a newsletter that he sent out, and what's the date on this? November 10th. And if you look at that, one of the things that we're going to be talking about, and he mentioned it in the 1040 class, tax offices have become the #1 problem area as far as identity theft is concerned. Last year, it was all rated. Tax offices were #5. This year, we're #1. So we're going to be talking about some of the things that you need to be doing to deal with that. One of the questions that always comes up is, should I go to Windows 10? The answer is, not now. Windows 10 will be free up through next summer, the upgrade, and we're recommending that you wait until after the tax season. If you've already done it, there have been some minor issues. Most of the time it's working pretty good, but if you haven't done it yet, wait. And so that's a recommendation from Mr. Jennings. So this is one of my fantastic slides here. So basically when we get into these business applications, we're talking about at the top is Microsoft Office. We're talking about cloud storage, note-taking, and PDF viewing. Like I say, you might be able to read some of that, etc., but it's pretty marginal. This one's really marginal. How many people use Office 365? How many use Office, Microsoft Office? Whether you got the, whatever. One of the things that we're going to talk about is the fact that you should go to Office 365. And basically, you can get the Office 365 Small Business Premium at $150 for the year. Now what that gives you is 5 computers. And so you now can have all the programs that Microsoft Office offers across 5 computers. So, and it's a lot cheaper than buying, individual licenses. Now, one of the reasons that I'm saying that, and of course I've been on 365 because Michael's dad pushed me a long time ago, is that now there is the ability to put it on your iPads. And if you have Office 365, it's free. You're not paying anything additional to have all the Microsoft products on your iPad. So that's one of the reasons why we're suggesting people go to 365. One of the things that by having the full suite of Offices is it allows you OneDrive. That's what I use for my backups. That's what I use for my file sharing, etc. So, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. Here's where we're talking about the 365, and now you can get the Office for the iPad. And the thing that's nice is that if you're someplace and you use the notes portion, and you're taking notes in a class here, it's automatically going to send it back to your PC, to your PC. So I've used the notes quite a bit attending seminars. And of course, you have being able to take notes. You have the OneNote, you have the Evernote, and this Notability. I used Evernote for a while because if you were using, there's 4 colors that 3M uses on their Post-it notes. So if you write it on a Post-it note and it's one of those 4 colors, you go to Evernote and basically you use the camera. It'll take that picture and put it in that particular color. And then you designate what that color is for. But it's only 4. So that's something that you need to be researching. Again, I believe the Evernote again is only up to 4. PDF viewers. I'm going to just jump in here real quick. How many people are on a subscription basis, monthly basis, or quarterly basis, or annual basis with their software? It's called a subscription, okay? And basically most of those, because it's in the cloud. And so I'm doing that with Adobe, I'm doing that with Microsoft, etc. So they bill me on a monthly basis. And the thing that, again, the reason that people are looking at going to the cloud is the fact that then it's always updated. So one of the things that happened to me the other day, or a couple weeks ago, is I've always been using Adobe Acrobat. And what happened is all of a sudden it's like, there's this DC there. And it's like, what's this? And it's their change. They've moved me up automatically. I didn't do anything. And so anytime that if you're on a subscription basis, it's always up to date. Now, and one of the things we'll talk about is Drake actually has that available if you're interested in it. But most of us get the unlimited edition, but it's still available. And of course, when you get if you go and get the latest version of Adobe Acrobat Reader, it's going to the DC. Now, one of the things that I felt on the change that Adobe had for the DC, it's a much simpler looking. Everything is still there. It's just that it's a step or 2 down. One of the problems that most people had if you had the regular Adobe is you had probably 3 toolbars at the top, and it's like you had to go, it's like, which one is, if I want to do the create a PDF, which one do I have to use? And so it just created problems. And now what they've done is they made it into English. So if you go and say, go to the tools, it's got all these ideas, you know, that says, what is it you want to do? And then you click on that, and then you go forward. So for a lot of people who are just starting, that is a good move. Cloud storage. Merle, I know you're using Dropbox. Okay, so a lot of people use Dropbox, and basically what this is a file sharing. And I'm using OneDrive, because as most accountants were pretty cheap and was already included in 365. So I said, why should I buy Dropbox when I already got it? And so what I'm using it for is basically connecting all my offices together. So as soon as something happens, a form is completed or scanning is done or financials are finished or whatever, it automatically goes up to the OneDrive. And now anybody can look at it. So the thing about it is that one of the nice things is you can use it for the backup storage. So I basically have got my system set up that says when I go to print or return, it goes to the DDM, goes to the OneDrive, so now it's backed up, and then I'm using ShareFile, and so once a day it goes and checks the DDM and puts it on my portal. So, you know, Drake has that available also for as far as the portals go. The thing that's interesting here, this is actually from Bob. He said that he's been using Dropbox, and if he had to start today, he'd use OneDrive. You know, it's like, if you've been doing it for 4 or 5 years, why are you going to change? So he just continues. But it appears that OneDrive is more secure than Dropbox. How they determine that, I don't know. But
Doesn't Drake have a cloud server?
yep.
And that's not on here? Or
Well, we're going to get into the portals and stuff like that when we get into Drake. This is just, you know, one of the things that it's available with the Office 365.
One thing to mention, if you buy Office 365, you get an entire terabyte of space of OneDrive.
Right.
That's for each person you sign up on. You know, if you have a 5-user thing, each user gets a 1 terabyte space on
Yeah.
OneDrive. So
And somebody asked me to try to explain what terabyte is, and I just say, it's a whole bunch.
exactly, it's a lot. So I mean, it's
Okay, I'm sorry. Again, because of the fact that we're recording this, the question that came up, or the comment that came up, is that every user of OneDrive, if you're using 365, gets 1 terabyte of storage. And that's a lot. Yes?
One of the things I thought Forbes had an article I was reading online or something about it with cloud storage and taxes. Where is it, I mean, we talk about the cloud, but it's not really up there. It's stored somewhere. And is there where is the storage at? Is it in this country or is it in a different country? We have issues with that.
Okay, the comment was, or the question was, is if it goes into cloud storage, where is it? It's in, you know, everybody says it's in the cloud, and we do have some clouds, so. No, basically it means it's stored on a machine somewhere. Now, I can tell you that Amazon has 4 humongous sites. You know, so that's just an example of storage. And one of them is in Tennessee because they said, whoops, there's going to be no earthquakes here. et cetera, et cetera. And you know, like when you get close to it, it's got a big moat around it. It's got, it's like you can't get into it. Now, one of the things that is nice about having storage like Microsoft and Amazon is the fact that they're periodically sending that information to the other places. It's not just in one place. It's in multiple places. So if something were to happen to a facility, not a problem. I mean, they've got generator backups and all that kind of stuff, whatever. But, and it's real tough to find out where does Amazon have these. I mean, and we found out that Tennessee is where one of them is. Maine is another one. I don't know why it's Maine, but so basically, cloud storage means it's stored on a machine somewhere. But all these, including Microsoft, Amazon, whatever, it's all US. So, again, if you were to ask where, they'd just say it's on one of our servers somewhere. And that's as far as you're going to get, because they're not going to tell you. So the next section we're talking about, again, terrible side, is business productivity software. Now, Jane sent me an email and says, are you know, anybody using this business productivity software? And I went, is that something different? I haven't heard that terminology. And basically what it is all this stuff is considered business productivity. You know, they're talking about Microsoft Office 365, Excel has got a new, what's called BL, Adobe Acrobat DC, and there are other productivity software. This is, again, the Adobe in the cloud. That's their next generation. And it has, if you look at it, it does have integrated e-signatures on it. You can do it on mobile devices. I do have it on my smartphone. And you can do it on a subscription basis. That's the best way to do it. You know, anyone who has ever gone and done, and we don't really want to talk about it, but QuickBooks, they're trying to push everybody to go online. And that's a subscription basis, and it's constantly up to date. One of the issues that I've always had in the past was the fact that, you know, client brings the information in and you now have to restore it. It's like, what version are you using? So I've had when I've updated, I've always had to keep that same version there. So I've got 6 or 8 versions of QuickBooks because I want to be able to give them that information back and give it back in a format that they can restore it to their machine. If I put it on my current one, it says you can go forward, you can't go back. And I found that quite a few years ago is that you have to tell it I wanted a separate folder, because otherwise it's going to eliminate the one you already got. So I had to create separate folders for all the various versions of the okay. This is interesting. We're going to talk about passwords. And part of the problem that we have is that people use the same password for everything. Well, that's good, because then it's not hard to remember, but it's bad because obviously it's better than writing down your passwords, but it's bad because if they get one, they got them all. So they're suggesting that, and one of the big problems that we have is that there are some of the firms that we deal with, Social Security wants to change it every 90 days, IRS wants to change periodically, I mean, so you got 50, 60 passwords. And then generally what happens is that when you get onto it, and it says you need a new password because it's now the 90 days. And it's like, you can't use the same password that you've used within the last 5 times. So now you have to think of a new one. And then how am I going to remember that? So anyway, part of the problem that we have on that is that people create a file on their computer that says passwords, so they can find it. Well, if your computer ever gets hacked, then there's all your passwords. Not good. So one of the questions is what's a good password? Well, you have to have a minimum of 8 characters. You know, you'll see that they'll always say you have to use uppercase, lowercase, numbers, symbols. You can use a random numeric. It should not be anything found in a dictionary as far as your word goes. And obviously not written down. And it should be unknown to others. And all the security firms, whatever, say you should be changing it every 90 days, irregardless. And it should be unique and not reused. So one of the things that has come up is that Carnegie Mellon did a study, and there's a new deal, what is called Basic 16, which means you use 16 characters. And that's as strong as an 8 with all the nuances, whatever. So tips to create the password. You know, some people will use the state, they spell it backwards, or the city backwards, or they have some, you know, random uppercase, lowercase. They pick a pattern on the keyboard, or they have a mnemonic. You know, tomorrow is the first day of the rest of your life. And what this guy had used when he was doing the seminar, this Basic 16, it says, I love to ride my bike. So what we're talking about here is you need to go to this website, and it's called howsecureismypassword.net, and put in some of your passwords that you use, and it'll tell you how fast on a normal PC that can be cracked. So the instance here where somebody used the state, it was done instantly. They did the state backwards, it was 5 hours. They did the, with random numbers, 32 days, and then when they start putting in upper and lowercase, etc., with special characters, 39 years. So the thing about it is that if you're using something like everybody's been advocating, that it's uppercase, lowercase, numbers, and a special character, and you run this and it says 39 years, are they going to bother with your computer? Probably not. There's a lot of people out there that use password for password. So it's one way to be saving your time. And again, this one where they use that today is the first day for the rest of your life, 238,000 years. I love to ride my bike 4 quintillion years. So one of the things that I've done, and I think one of, is you want to seriously look at a password manager. Because of the fact that we got 50, 60 different passwords out there, how are you going to remember that? So what the password manager is going to do is it's going to keep track of that. So the first time, now I started out with LastPass. Well, then with the issue that we had, was it last year, whatever, they got hacked. They didn't get any of the data, but they did get hacked. So then I changed to this Dashlane, and I've been using it now for like 3 months. And, excuse me. So when you go and install the password manager, what it does is it looks at your computer and looks at everything that you use that has passwords on it. It grabs it and immediately encrypts it. So when you go back to that site, it's going to bring up the passwords that you've used for that site. One of the things that they require is that you have to create a master password. That master password is not, it's You have to use that to open like Dashlane. It's not kept anywhere. It doesn't go to them, so you better remember it, because no one else can get it but you. And so what happens is that the first thing that you do when you bring it up is that you have to put in your master password, and then it unlocks it. So what's going to happen then is, when there are many other ways that you can do this. Excel and Word, you can encrypt. And so a lot of people will put their passwords on that encrypted file, and then you're safe. But again, that's just another step that you have to do to remember your passwords. And you need to be looking at security under the password manager. One of the other things that I just did the other day is I went to every place that I had passwords and said, I asked the Dashlane to generate a password for me. And of course, they're using 256-bit, which your IT guys can tell you that's a lot. And NSA is complaining about because they have a tough time cracking that. But anyway, it's encrypted. And so next time I go on to that particular site, it's going to bring up the password. How many times have we forgotten passwords and you have to hit the button that says forgot password, and they send you the email that says, okay, now you can reset it. So I'm not worried about that because they're going to save it for me. Saves the passwords in the encrypted file. The one master password is needed. And again, this is all cloud-based. And the thing about it is that what I have found is when you go in to set this up, it asks you, for your name, address, et cetera, et cetera. And so the next time you go onto a site that requires your name, address, et cetera, you can hit the Dashlane and it'll populate all that. So you're not typing everything all over again. Especially if it's just the standard garbage. And so here's something you can see some of the stuff that you can put on there. You can put on, credit cards, your mail accounts. Now you can have more than one account. What happens is that when you go into that particular login and you click on it, it says, well, who's doing this? Am I doing it, or is my wife doing it? So we've got her email in there also. Now there's many different forms of the passwords managers. The Dashlane, LastPass, etc. So you need to go and do some research. And here are some of the magazines that you can go and look at reviews on the different Dashlanes or the password managers. And okay, I'm still good. And so one of them is this a secure life. And so what I've given you following that is the review on some of these password managers and how they happen to rate LastPass as #1 and Dashlane I think was #2. So the thing about it is that you need to do some work on that, some review. I'm sold on it. And one of the things that you want to do is all of these have a free program. Like Dashlane is free. You can only put it on one machine. So you get another machine, then you got to reload it, and now you start all over. So what I did is I bought their what's called premium, and I think it's $39 or whatever on an annual basis, and I can use it across all my devices. So I'm using the same, because if you get on to Drake from home or Drake from the office, you use the same passwords. But now with the password manager, it's got the passwords. So, and I can use them across all the devices. So with the $39, so I've got it on my iPhone, I got it on my iPads, my wife has got it on her iPad, iPhones, this unit, my office unit, my unit at home, etc. So we just suggest that you may want to seriously consider that so that, again, you can get the free one, but now you're duplicating. Yes, ma'am.
So if you get this dash lane.
Or something,
Does it replace your current passwords with new ones?
No. The question was, does it replace your current passwords with new ones? You have to tell it if you want a different password.
Okay, and then it will create.
Then it will create a new password. Otherwise, what's going to happen is going to take your existing passwords, and as soon as you bring up a program, it's going to automatically populate it, and so then all you're doing is hitting login. You're not having to type in your email address and your passwords.
Does it change your passwords for you every 90 days?
You have to tell it. It's not automatically set up to do that.
If you don't pay your bill, you've got problems.
Yeah, if you don't pay your bill, you got problems. It doesn't automatically do it 90 days because not everything is at 90 days. It's recommended that you do at 90 days. And again, some of the sites, a lot of the banks require you change. Again, Social Security requires you to change, etc. So generally what's going to happen is that when I get onto one of those and it says, oh, you have to change your password, then I'm immediately going to go and say, oh, by the way, generate a new one for me. Because, after a while, like I say, you got 50 passwords. What did I use?
So do you go out of that program, go into Dashlane, bring that password up? No, you can do it right from that current website.
It'll bring it up.
Yeah, it brings it up. And so the thing about it is that, so if I go into, I think I can bring this, I'll think about that and bring it up. Because what it is if you look back at, I don't know where it was where they were showing it. I said, what is, you just had, and I was telling Sharon, I said, well, you just have to go to the blue deer. She said, no, I think that's a reindeer, but. And so what happens is that when you log in, any place that you have a password is like this Dashlane. Dashlane doesn't show up. It only has the deer, and it's a blue whatever. So then, usually it automatically does it. But if you just move the mouse over and click on it, and it's like, oh yeah, you're good. So. Because I've mentioned this to a number of clients, and all the clients have gone, this is going to save me a ton of time. And that's one of the things that they're all concerned with is they have this little video and says, go on here and it'll show you how you can save 50 hours a year. I was like, okay, what are you using?
I've used RoboForm, I've used LastPass. LastPass is what I'm using right now.
Yeah, and they all work the same. They have, some obviously, like any programs, they got a little bit differences, but basically they're all the same. Now, one of the things that it does do, let me just minimize this and go into, as soon as I find it. How about everybody having too many words, too many programs on your system? So this is the Dashlane, and this is actually the one of the things I had to set up. It will go and check the security of your passwords, and so you notice here that I'm 60.7, and it tells you which ones that you need to fix. Now, one of the complaints I have is that every time I go into Drake, this says it's not a strong enough password. So I'm going to have to change my password at Drake. But again, they only allow 8 letters. If you go to 9, it's not a problem if you're going into Drake, when they ask for your EFIN number and your that. But when you go to the tax program itself, it only allows 8. So if you're trying to use the same password that you used to try to get into Drake and it's more than 8, you have to truncate it, whatever, and it's a pain in the butt.
Break chips and anything too, they print the password on a sticky label, so anybody can steal your password anyway, so it doesn't.
Yeah. So anyway, this is a good feature, just the fact that it can tell you that you got issues. So, and because of the fact that you have this and all your passwords are encrypted, if you don't have the master password and your computer gets stolen, they can't get into anything that requires a password because it's all encrypted. Now, one of the things that Nikki happened to send out, since she's president in waiting, is this basic system security checklist. And by the way, it's Bob Jennings, not George. So this is coming from Tax Speaker. And one of the things that is being suggested is that you have to encrypt all your hard drives. Because what everybody assumes is because I have, as soon as I start up my computer, I have to put in a password. Well, that password is to get into Windows. Now you can get into everything. So what is happening is that when a computer is stolen, they're immediately yanking the hard drive, and then they put it into their system. And now they know what the password is to get into Windows. And now they can get at everything that you've got. So, and that's the number one thing, is that they're stealing the computers. I just was informed the other day that down at 50 in France on the weekend, they broke into 2 offices. One was a dentist's office, and one was, actually, that happens to be the MGA. And they stole all the laptops. They didn't take any of the network drives or anything like that. It was just the laptops they made off with. So one of the things, there's a number of options for encrypting your hard drive. One that I'm using is Symantec's, it's called PGP. And I had some issues with it initially because I told it was a 32-bit machine. It was actually a 64-bit machine, so we had some issues they had to get around. But anyway, the code to get in there is 20 characters long. So, in order to encrypt the hard drive. And that's actually, Michael, why I had that problem with my computer. My computer kept going, it was trying to encrypt this, and it said AC power battery, AC power battery. And when I talk to the IT guys, they go, you don't have a battery on your computer. What's it talking about? So anyway, it had to go into the shop for a fix-up.
What was the name of yours again, Bruce?
It's called PGP.
PGP.
Right, and it's from Symantec. Because, or the other ones that you may have heard of is, Norton Security, Norton, 360, stuff like that. But it's actually a different division now. They've split. One of the things that Bob was mentioning is that when they're stealing these computers, they now know that you were using a particular software. So they're going and buying the software for the tax program. You say, well, it's I'm using Drake, whatever. How are you going to get into it? You don't have the program. They're buying the program so they can get to the data. So, so basically they're saying here you have to have the require passwords, established passwords with 8 characters. You need to have an antivirus on all systems. And the biggest thing is you have to have physical security. So some of the things, he mentioned, I think it was in the 1040 class or whatever, that they came in for an e-file audit. And the guy had his files on the floor, like a lot of people do. And they said, you can't do that. You better change. They came back 2 weeks later. He didn't change. They immediately pulled his EFIN. March 10th. So the thing about it is that if they're coming in for an e-file audit and they say, you know, I want to see all your 8879s, you know, you should have those in a separate book, 3-ring notebook, and with, you know, in a locked cabinet, etc. Because when it happens is when they come in to do the e-file audit, they look at everything. Do you have provisions for shredding? Do you have file cabinets that can be locked? Can you get into if your network is in another room? And so they only came for one reason, but they're instructed. So if you go and look at the manual that the IRS has for e-file office audits, it says, look at all these things, because there's potential penalties on all these things, and that's what they're after. Now, has anybody had an e-file audit?
Got that file cabinet, that lock broken into the, you see the file.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is that what the question is that did you have it? You know, so, and then, so that's why we have this safeguarding taxpayer data. That is basically coming, I think this came out of the IRS short course, where they talk about all the different things that you needed to be doing for security, because they're getting real uptight about ID theft.
So Bruce, during the tax time, you are working with so many files. Are you supposed to be putting those files in the cabinet every time?
You better have a clean desk policy. Once you're done with it, or whatever you're working on and the next client's coming in, you better have a clean desk, because that's one of the things that they're jumping on.
But still, there will be some files on the floor.
Better not be. They better not be. Better be putting them away. Only what you're working on. That's why I say is that at any point in time, if you're not there, your desk better be clear. My old partner would just have a heart attack. Judy.
I'm a seasonal employer, and they threatened to pull my EFIN because I didn't file third and fourth quarter reports.
What, 941s? Okay, so they were threatening to pull Judy's EFIN number because you didn't file third and fourth quarter reports.
I'm a seasonal employer, I've never filed third and fourth quarter reports ever.
Well, the thing, you know, I get this from my clients all the time. The IRS doesn't know that it's zero. There's some minion in the back room that's looking and says, Judy didn't send in third quarter. You say, but it's zero. And I'm a seasonal employer.
On the 941, there's a box where you tell them you're a seasonal employer.
Right. But there are still idiots in the back room that says, you know, they can't read that. So anyway.
They're getting caught.
So let's finish up on the section on technology. Well, yeah. Just not know. One of the things that is, how many people know about Internet 2.0? Ever heard of the Internet 2.0? It's called the dark web. You cannot get to it from your existing browser. There's a special browser that you have to use to get to it. And this is on the, there's a page here that we have on and the gallery says it's page 38. And so this dark net, basically, you can get to, and when you get into it and you look at it, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But this is where all the nefarious things happen. That's why it's called the dark net. If you want to order drugs, you could do it from the dark net. Or anything, pornography, whatever. That's why it's called the dark net. Now, one of the things I did is I put up here, how many people have ever heard of TED? T-E-D. Okay. If you go on to, so basically TED is technology, education, and something with the D. And so what it is that they have over 1,500 lectures. The maximum lecture is 15 minutes, and it can be anything. And so they meet twice a year, various places, you know, they're in California or in England, etc. And these people can talk about whatever they want to talk about. I mean, they get on the program. But anyway, if you go to this, to the TED.com and look up Jamie Bartlett, he'll explain how the dark net works. And not saying that you need to be going there or using it, but you need to be aware of it. Because one of the things that occurs with the dark net is, have you ever heard of Bitcoin? Bitcoin is the cyber security. It's only one of about 110 the different types of securities out there. It's the most popular one. And we actually have an explanation here of what Bitcoin is. Now, one of the things, I was thinking about this when I was trying to do this seminar. How many people remember it as the farm school? Okay. It's actually called the Irish short course now, but it used to be called the farm school because they used to talk about farms. Well, anyway, this year they talked about virtual currencies. So one of the things that I'm going to have to add this year to my questions, you go through and babysitting, all that kind of garbage. One of the things you're going to have to ask is, did you have any internet currency transactions? Did you have any income from fantasy sports? And then the third one is, do you have a disabled child at home? That's the three things that I'm going to add this year. The reason I would say about the disabled child is that by age 22, that disabled child must have gone through the Social Security procedures to be deemed disabled. So if something happens to you down the line, they qualify. If you go past 22, they may not qualify. So anyway, that's something. So here's the top 10 virtual currencies. And basically what IRS is saying, you know, that on this page, virtual currency is treated as property. For income tax purposes, taxpayers must report their gains or losses from virtual currency transactions. So when I was at the farm school, actually it was up in St. Cloud, and they talked about this, I went, huh? Everybody needs to know about this because it's going to be a bigger and bigger issue. So, and that's why I gave you the information to go on TED.com just to be able to look at what are they talking about. What is this dark net type thing? And again, there's a special organized or a special browser that you have to put because it's not accessible from your current browser. Well, if you look here on the chart, it shows you what it is in dollars. And there's actually a site that you can go to. is on here, taxation. They're talking about it. Actually, it's IRS notice 2014-21. And then if you go to bitcoin.org, it'll explain how to use it. And then if you go to the inmarket.com, it'll give you this list of the top currency, and I'll show you what the current price is. Now, are you going to have to deal with it? Well, it may come up. So, yeah, get out. Go someplace else. Okay. We're going to take a 10-minute break, and then we'll come back and start working on some of this other stuff.